888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Mr. McConnell, why is this camera so close to me? Normally it's further back. Is that good or bad? That's supposed to be? Yeah. Mr. McConnell said, well, I appreciate that. That precise, insightful analysis. I can always depend on Mr. McConnell. Mr. McConnell, why is this camera so close to me? Well, I think a maintenance guy put it there, and we just left it. Kamala Harris is attending the inauguration of an incoming socialist leader with anti-Semitic ties. In other words, a typical Democrat get-together. 58% of voters see the media as the enemy of the people. Just 58%? What's up with the other 42%? You hear about Neil Simon, the singer-songwriter? Yeah, he's still around. What is he, about 150? He demanded that Spotify, that also carries his music, drop the Joe Rogan podcast, which is heard by something like 11 million people. That's more popular than any show they have on Fox. And Spotify did an exclusive $100 million deal to carry Joe Rogan's podcast. And so when Neil Young demanded that you drop Joe Rogan, you can't have Young and Rogan, Spotify said, bye-bye. You know, a lot of people get their music now streaming. It's not like the old days where you went and bought an album and put it on something and you played it. Everybody gets their stuff now on streaming. So Neil Young is losing a great deal of money and downstreams by having Spotify remove his music. He gets it on other streaming platforms, but Spotify is the biggest, most important. Sigh. Oh, guess who's withdrawn their OSHA vaccine requirement after the Supreme Court says it no longer is applicable because it's illegal? The Biden administration has. The San Francisco DA, who was put there because of Gavin Newsom and George Soros, is being sued over his handling of anti-Asian attacks. We told you that the unwritten rule is that these anti-Asian attacks in the Bay Area are largely done by black perpetrators. But you can't say that because that's offensive. I'm telling you, white people, you need to step up and start committing more crime. That way we can prosecute the people of color who commit crime to the fullest extent of the law. So frankly, this is an example of systemic racism on the part of white people who are not committing enough crime so that black people are not punished fully to the extent of their crimes. Also, the New York governor is blaming the rise in crime on, wait for it, illegal guns, as opposed to the illegal use of guns by criminals. What are you going to do? And a California city is becoming the first city in the country to require gun owners to carry liability insurance. All of that and more, 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Oh, one more. Fox News report by Brett Baer found that Dr. Fauci downplayed reports and evidence that the COVID-19 virus came from a lab. He ignored reports that suggested it, downplayed evidence that suggested it, and Brett Baer put together a pretty devastating report on that. We're going to try and play as much of that report as we can. But first, of course, the big news is that Justice Stephen Breyer has announced his resignation from the Supreme Court. Mr. McConnell, this sounds a little tinny, the sound, a little bit in my ear. Is it still coming out across the air okay? It's a new microphone? So I left. You got a new microphone for Bob France, not for me? Bob France sat in for me yesterday from WHK, AM 1420, FM 102.5. Always right show. Bob, thank you very much for sitting in for me. But so you got a new mic for Bob France, but not a new mic for me when I was away. Where were you, Larry? Well, I was at La Quinta. I gave a speech at an organization called Concerned Citizens of La Quinta. And the head of that is a man named Robert Silk, S-Y-L-K. Fascinating guy. He was in the travel agency business, in the construction business, in the casino business. And now he is in the business of trying to make the country and the world a better place. Actively involved in charities, including a lot of Jewish charities, a lot of work for Israel. Great guy. Robert Silk is his name. Anyway, he invited me to speak. And as I was speaking, before that, he told me all the people who had spoken there, all these profound, deep, respected people. And I said, I'm so flattered that you asked me to speak. And he said, don't be. We couldn't get Jussie Smollett. Actually, we could get him, but he wanted to charge too much, so we ended up getting you. So that was nice. I appreciated that. Now, getting to the resignation of Stephen Breyer. Why is he resigning now? Well, of course he's resigning now because he knows it's going to be a bloodbath in November, at least that's what the polls are indicating. And the Republicans stand a good chance of getting back the Senate, in which case it's going to be much more difficult for President Joe Biden to confirm another Sonia Sotomayor, and Stephen Breyer is concerned about that. And of course, he's not going to wait until past 2024, when the likelihood is that a Republican could take back the White House, in which case the oldest justice, I think he's 82 years old, would then have to stick around for another 4, maybe even 8 more years before he is able to retire. So this is the best chance. Also, I've speculated that the only way to get rid of Kamala Harris is for Kamala Harris to willingly, gleefully, happily accept an appointment and confirmation to the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, the problem with that is I don't think she wants to do it. Don't forget, she ran for president. She wants to be president. And so it would take her openly asking for this job, being perfectly happy to take that job. Otherwise, you run the risk of the wrath of black females, and they are by far the most loyal part of the Democratic base. So that's a real problem. And President Joe Biden, when he was campaigning, said that he's going to appoint, if he gets a vacancy, a black female. Lost on this is the irony of the fact that the Supreme Court has just agreed to take up the case of Asian Americans suing Harvard and the University of North Carolina also being sued, one school private, one school public, for using race as a criterion when it comes to admitting students. So the President of the United States is using race and gender as criteria for an appointment to the Supreme Court. Anything wrong with this picture? Obviously not. Now, it turns out that maybe, just maybe, the ability for Joe Biden to appoint a black female, by the way, he didn't say black female, he didn't say conservative black female. He said black female, meaning, of course, liberal black female. There's a justice who used to be on the D.C. Appellate Court named Janice Rogers Brown, who retired in 2017. She was conservative, black female, but of course that would never make the list because she's not a liberal. So what Joe Biden means is I'm going to appoint a liberal black female. Now, back in the old days when a president got elected, the feeling was that elections have consequences. And one of those is the president gets to nominate his choice and ultimately her choice of a Supreme Court nominee. I will remind you that Antonin Scalia was confirmed without a single dissenting vote in the Senate. I kid you not, he was confirmed unanimously. Those days were long gone after the nomination of Robert Bork, because Robert Bork threatened to change the ideological makeup of the court, and all of a sudden the Supreme Court confirmation processes became blood sport. They weren't that way before. Relatively new. Back in the old days, if you were a child molester or a tax cheat, then you could perhaps have your nomination held up. Aside from that, the assumption was that the president got to nominate his, and as I said, eventually her choice for the Supreme Court. But no more. Anyway, Joe Biden promised to nominate a black female. Whatever happened to content of character rather than color of skin? By the way, even Martin Luther King one time said, if a city has 30% black population, it only stands to reason that 30% of the business executives in that given city should also be black. So he was right about civil rights, equal rights. He was wrong about equal results. But of course, the Democratic Party does not believe in a colorblind society. They believe in a color-coordinated society. 888-971-SAGE. I'm Larry Elder.
Yeah, Larry, love your show. I live on a street that has one Afro-American family and the rest are Hispanic. I'm the only white person, and I'm 71 and a half years old. And I couldn't tell you how many times that I have saved my neighbors' homes from being burglarized, their cars from being burglarized, and we all get along just great. They don't believe in Black Lives Matter. They don't believe in Antifa. And they are so proud because I served in the United States Army, and now their son is serving in the U.S. Army because he admires me. Love your show. Have a good one.
Love you too. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio.
Some breaking news. A leading member of the Supreme Court is retiring. Let's get straight to CNN's Jessica Schneider. Jess, huge news.
Huge news, John. This has actually just been confirmed by our Wolf Blitzer that at 83 years old, after 27 years on the Supreme Court, Justice Stephen Breyer, the leading liberal on the court, he will retire. We're still not exactly sure of the timeline, but presumably not until the end of this term, which ends usually at the end of June. This retirement announcement comes after what has been a persistent drumbeat of calls from progressives to retire from the court, dating back now just about a year. It was about a year ago when the progressive group Demand Justice actually hired a mobile billboard that drove around Capitol Hill in front of the Supreme Court, urging Breyer to retire. Now we know he will retire, presumably at the end of this term. You know, Justice Stephen Breyer, he spoke with our Joan Biskupik last year, and he talked about what would prompt him to retire. He said it would ultimately be about two things: his health Breyer to retire. Now we know he will retire, presumably at the end of this term. You know, Justice Stephen Breyer, he spoke with our Joan Biskupik last year, and he talked about what would prompt him to retire. He said it would ultimately be about two things: his health and the court. We don't know about any issues with his health, so presumably this is all about the court. Preserving the status of the court, despite the politics that are at play here. Justice Stephen Breyer has repeatedly talked in speeches about preserving the integrity of the court, keeping politics out of the court, not letting politics stain the public reputation of the court. But now, despite or possibly because of those progressive calls for him to step down, the justice will retire. And of course, Justice Stephen Breyer knows all.
I think the government has been spending way too much time mandating everything. It comes across as bullying. Masks haven't even been studied against Omicron. We don't know how well they work. Why don't we start with we don't know? And the chances are they do something. And the chances are that a KN95 or a better mask works better than one that is a cloth mask. We've studied cloth masks. They're hanging off people's faces. They're not working. So the idea of the mandate is not public health, it's politics.
University of Michigan School of Law. A woman alleged she had been denied admission because the school gave certain minority groups a greater chance of it being admitted. And Sandra Day O'Connor held that the school could use race as a factor, but not as the only factor. She also said this, and I'm quoting her: race-conscious admissions policies must be limited in time. The court expects that 25 years from now, the use of racial preferences will no longer be necessary to further the interest approved today, end of quote. Do the math. That was 2003. 25 years is 2028. So we're talking about, according to that Supreme Court decision, the use of race as a factor would be over in 6 years from now. And now the Supreme Court has taken up a case filed by plaintiffs who are Asian American, claiming that Harvard has been admitting lesser qualified students over these more qualified Asian American students. And also, the lawsuit has been filed against University of North Carolina, same allegation. While, as I said, you have the President of the United States publicly saying,
do I recommend masks in close quarters with a lot of people? Yes, I recommend.
Which brings me to my zip poll
But if I start with the with the stick rather than the carrot, I'm going to get a lot of people turned off, and that's the mistake here.
Something just happened to my sound. During his presidential campaign, Joe Biden promised to nominate a black female to the Supreme Court. Does his promise to appoint a black female, as opposed to the most qualified person, offend you? You have two answers. A, yes, it offends me. B, no, there has never been a black female on the Supreme Court, and it's about time. In order to participate, you must be a member of the Zip community. Go to your app store, download the Zip app by searching under Zip Poll USA, and be sure and use my code SAGE, S-A-G-E. By the way, the last question I asked you was the following. If you donated to my campaign to recall California Governor Gavin Newsom, had you ever donated to a political candidate before? 60% of you said I had before. 40% of you said this is my first time. How impressive is that? 40% of the people, and there were 150,000 individual donors to my campaign, 40% of these individual donors said that they had never donated to a political candidate before. I really do appreciate that. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. As I mentioned, Joe Biden didn't need to say it, but what he meant was I'm going to appoint a liberal black female because Justice Thomas is a conservative black man and got trashed by The View. NBC's Peter Alexander said this about the prospect of Joe Biden appointing a black female. Listen to this.
That's exactly right, Lester. No formal comment from the White House at this time. But as you note, that is one of the headlines that we'll certainly be refocusing on over the course of the next several days and weeks, was the president's commitment as a candidate that he would nominate the first African-American justice to the Supreme Court.
You hear that? Let's hear Mr. Alexander again from NBC. Maybe their research staff was on vacation.
He would nominate the first African-American justice to the Supreme Court.
Actually, Thurgood Marshall was the first African-American, and then followed by Clarence Thomas. This will be the third African-American. Just keeping them honest.
He would nominate the first African-American justice to the Supreme Court. It's likely he would also be looking for a younger justice. Each of the last 7 justices selected were under the age of 55 when they were picked. And for the president, this is a potential opportunity to really put some legacy, his legacy, into the law as it relates to the court. Obviously, the balance still 6-3 in favor of the conservatives. The next oldest justice right now is Justice Clarence Thomas, who is 73 years old.
Joe Biden tried a little bit of comedy about the Justice Breyer announcement.
We were joking with one another when he walked in. Did we ever think that he would have served decades on the court and I'd be president of the United States when the day he came in to retire? And he looked at it. Anyway, I won't tell you what he said. I'm joking.
I'm here all week.
But I might point out, when I went to Dearborn, driving that, was up there. I don't know, man. I think the press thought I was crazy. I enjoyed it so much going up and your new EV factory and that Hummer.
Yes, sir. Joe Biden in mid-season form. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Taking calls regarding the resignation of Stephen Breyer and Biden's promise to appoint a black female to the Supreme Court. I'm Larry Elder.
Shalom, Sage. This is Scott from Kalamazoo. I just listened to Don Lemon saying that just because you're black doesn't make you aware and smart. And this man basically just follows the script of his plantation owners, and he just dances to their tune, and he calls you unaware and not smart. Boy, hey, I love what you do, man. Keep up the great work. Shalom.
Larry Elder, a colleague of mine, who happens to be black, I think it's only relevant because we're talking about racism here, and doesn't think Trump has unleashed racism, did a CNN analysis, and it
just
seems
because
that
he's black, it doesn't mean that he is aware, and it doesn't mean that he is smart. Just because he's black, it doesn't mean that he is aware, and it doesn't mean that he is smart.
888-971 SAGE 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Called Not Smart by one of the dumbest men on television. It's pretty rich, isn't it? We've been talking about Biden's assertion that the next vacancy he made this promise during the campaign, would be a black female. I mean, let's just game this out. Take it to its logical extension. The country is, 13% black, right? Barack Obama got elected. If people voted based upon race, never could have happened. Joe Biden is Catholic, making him only the second black president who's Catholic, John Kennedy being the first. And roughly 23% or so of the U.S. adult population is Catholic. So voters voted based on their religion. Biden never could have become president. John Kennedy never could have become president. By the way, of the 9 members of the Supreme Court, current members, 6 of them are Catholic. Again, if presidents nominated Supreme Court justices based upon the president's own religion, we could never have had 6 members of the Supreme Court who are Catholic. Should there be a quota? Is that too many Catholics? You get on an airplane, you see a female, a person of color. Do you want to hear about diversity, inclusion, or equity, or do you want to make sure that he or she can fly the damn plane? We discussed this maybe a week or two ago with respect to a sportscaster named Skip Bayless. Very popular. He's got 3 million followers on Twitter. And he said after the firing of 2 NFL black head coaches, the NFL now is down to just one head coach, the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He said it was shameful, embarrassing, and disgusting. Bayless happened to be white, one of these white saviors. So if you know that there are racist owners who refuse to hire qualified black coaches as head coaches, don't you have the obligation to name names? Otherwise, you're just being a demagogue. You're making accusations without naming names. What good does that do? If you know that the NFL is discriminating against black coaches, team owners who are the ones who ultimately make the hiring decision, you have an obligation to tell us who it is. Are you saying that once a black coach is hired, the black coach ought not be fired? If you want to make it more difficult for people to hire black coaches, have that rule. Once you hire a black coach, no matter how well that black coach performs, you can't fire him. And by the way, what is the correct number of black coaches? The NBA is the NFL is 70% black. So should 70% of the head coaches be black? Does that same rule apply to people who are sports commentators covering the NFL? Should 70% of the sports commentators be black? In which case, you're fired, Skip. And when did the racism kick back in? It wasn't long ago that there were 2 black head coaches who squared off in a Super Bowl. Lovie Smith, the head coach of the Chicago Bears, squared off against another black coach, Tony Dungy. And he won. Dungy did. But then I guess the racism kicked back in. Dungy was a coach of Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if I'm not mistaken.
Were canceled by the Biden administration, which revoked, outright revoked authorization for two very popular monoclonal antibody treatments that the state of Florida really pioneered over the summer, and that we've worked hard to make available to our residents who needed treatment. Mind you, the number, the people that seek...
Shameful. Is it disgusting, embarrassing, shameful that the NBA is about 75%, 80% black, even though the country is just 13% black? I'm just asking how that works. Now, here's the deal. If you are struggling with back, neck, shoulder, hip, knee pain, whether from working out or just having general muscle aches and pain due to aging, I suggest you order the 3-week Quick Start. It is still only $19.95, less than $1 a day, to see if we can get you out of pain. After that, we're talking about, well, less than a cost of a cup of coffee a day for you to stay out of pain. The doctors who design Relief Factor feel our bodies are designed to heal. To that end, they found the 4 best ingredients, each of which are 100% drug-free, to deal with pain from a different metabolic pathway. That's right, inflammation from a different metabolic pathway. Give your body what it needs to heal itself. ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com, 800-500-8384, 800-500-8384.
this distributed to different medical groups or hospitals. And if somebody wants to try, it was very effective against the Delta. If you look at once that program went in, you saw a huge decline in hospitalizations. And we were proud to be able to fill really a void which shouldn't have existed if you had people, the higher ups, were actually promoting early treatment, which they weren't. So we're proud of that. But even if with Omicron, it's
deplorable, me too. It's time for a redo. 2024. Vote Hillary Clinton for President of the United States. Help her make Americans deplorable again. Hashtag Me Too deplorable. Hillary Clinton for president.
This is not okay.
888-971 7243 888-971 SAGE. Well, they're out tonight, aren't they? Top of the hour, I was on the Joe Piscopo show. I'm getting a lot of feedback from the ReliefFactor.com commercial that we do on TV. That was totally ad-libbed. Joe and I were just hanging out. We've always liked each other, and one of the guys said, "Wait, why don't you guys do a commercial like this?" And so we did. And I was invited on the Joe Piscopo show this morning at 6:40 a.m., which is why I'm so energized, been up all day. And we also, of course, talked about the resignation of Justice Stephen Breyer, all of that and more. Also, Brett Baier did a devastating report on the fact that Dr. Fauci was aware of very persuasive reports that the coronavirus, COVID-19, escaped from a lab in Wuhan, and he downplayed the reports and downplayed the evidence. We're going to have all that for you. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Ed is in Chula Vista, California. Ed, you're on the Larry Elder Show. Thank you so much for calling.
Larry Elder, it's a privilege and an honor. I'm so glad I get a chance to talk to you today.
My pleasure.
Sir, I want you to take me serious now, and I don't want to hear any canned laughter coming from your staff, hint, hint. But the suggestion I have for President Biden's nomination to the Supreme Court, I want to know how you feel about this. I would recommend Anita Hill. What say you?
Well, she fits the bill. She's left-wing. She's a liberal professor, and certainly he's going to nominate somebody left-wing. But I really hadn't thought about that. That's very interesting.
When he first started to run, one of the first things I heard was that he apologized.
He apologized to her for her
publicly.
For the way he treated her during the Clarence Thomas hearings they had. Yes. So it would be kind of full circle for him to nominate her.
Sure, that to me was a debacle. That was really sad what they did to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ed, thank you for that. By the way, when Al Gore was running in 2000, Gloria Allred had a radio show on the same station I did. And Gloria Allred was touting the candidacy of Sybil Shepherd, the actress, who to my knowledge had never expressed any interest in politics. Maybe she and Gloria were friends, and she said something to Gloria, but Gloria publicly said she urged her to run for president. And I asked Gloria, I invited her on my show, and I asked her why. And she said because Sybil Shepherd will be an advocate for the pro-choice position on abortion. And I said, what is the difference between her position on abortion and Al Gore's position on abortion? And she couldn't think of anything. And I said, I don't quite understand why it is that even if I disagree with Roe v. Wade and I'm pro-life and not pro-choice, I don't understand why it is it takes a female to advocate the same position that a male like Al Gore is going to advocate. What difference does it make as long as your liberal point of view is being advanced? And in my opinion, she didn't have much of an answer. She just wanted somebody with breasts to be on the Supreme Court who advocated the pro-choice position. It seems to me you ought to be concerned about the position. And that is why I would think that even if I'm on the left, I certainly wouldn't say I want a female, a black female. I would want somebody who advanced the position, the interpretation of the Constitution as I see it. And, the left sees the Constitution as a living, breathing document that they can change and fashion depending upon their mood and the shifts in the mood of the country. Whereas Republicans see, or originalists see, the Constitution as a contract that ties the hands of the federal government, leaving the rest of the duties and responsibilities to the states and to the people. But I just don't understand why it is that people like Sonia Sotomayor can say, I believe that a wise Latina, given her experiences, would render a better decision than a white male who has not had those experiences. What is about the law has to do with experiences? What is it about the law that has to do with whether or not you grew up in the city or grew up in the South? What is that? I don't get it. And it seems to me, having gone to law school, having watched people debate both sides, you can pretty much justify almost any position you want if you are determined to do so. It seems to me the Second Amendment that allows people to keep and bear arms should be interpreted the same whether or not you're a Democrat or a Republican, liberal or conservative, but that's not the way it works. So the whole thing about wanting a black female justice, again, if voters follow that same kind of philosophy, Barack Obama, given the fact that just 13% of the population is black, could never become president. Joe Biden, given that only 20% of the population is Catholic, could never have become president if people voted based on their religion. And we certainly could never have had 6 members of the Supreme Court, as is the case right now, who are Catholic, given, as I said earlier, that only 20% of the nation is Catholic. You know, when you wheel your mom into the OR and you see a doctor, don't you want that doctor, irrespective of race, color, creed, to be the best possible doctor to administer to your parent? Are you kidding? What is this? And this doesn't seem to bother people on the left. And the case that the Supreme Court is taking up has to do with affirmative action at Harvard and at University of North Carolina. And Lawrence Tribe, a liberal prof at Harvard, just said, well, we're just going to have to be more clever about how we figure out how to admit people. In other words, we need to evade the 14th Amendment to admit people based upon color. That should be shocking to the left. Now, you don't just vote in November. You vote every time you spend money in the companies you spend it with. If you're still a customer of Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, you're donating to issues they support, like people like Biden and Pelosi and Schumer. But I offer you a solution, Pure Talk. You see, Pure Talk, as I've said, uses the exact same tower, same 5G network as one of those companies, but you're going to be supporting a veteran-run business with employees right here in the country. This is one monthly bill you can be proud to pay. Oh, and by the way, it'll probably cost you about half of what your current cell phone bill is, because the average family saves over $800 a year. So do this. From your cell phone, dial pound 250, say Larry Elder, and because Pure Talk loves my listeners, you're going to save an additional 50% off your first month. That's pound 250, say Larry Elder, pound 250, say Larry Elder, Pure Talk.
Hey, Joe in Prescott Valley. Hope you're doing fantastic. Hey, I'm curious. I'm hearing Biden and Harris complain about and fight against black voter suppression. I'm wondering how many times they endorsed you for governor of California, Larry, to unsuppress things.
Thousands of Floridians woke up to news that their appointments to get treatment for COVID-19 infection were canceled by the Biden administration, which outright revoked authorization for two very popular monoclonal antibody treatments that the state of Florida really pioneered over the summer and that we've worked hard to make available to our residents who needed treatment. Mind you, the number of the people that seek this treatment are
the state of California. During the campaign, I never once mentioned that because I think it's irrelevant. After the election of the first black president, everything else to me is anticlimactic. And I never expected anybody to vote for me because I'm black, and I hope that people didn't vote against me because I'm black. But as I said before, there was an article about me very critical in the New York Times, and it never once in the article mentioned that I am black, nor did it mention that I would be the first black governor of the state of California had I been elected. Same issue, same day, long article about the governor of New York who succeeded Cuomo after Cuomo resigned and mentioned that she's the first female governor of New York. So Elder being the first black governor of California, irrelevant because I've got an R at the end of my name. And even worse, I'm black conservative. But Hochul, the female governor of New York, who has a D at the end of her name, her being first is extremely relevant to the New York Times. This is the kind of double standard that I was subjected to and that the country has been subjected to. Now, as I said earlier, this business about nominating people based on gender, based on race, there was a Supreme Court case that came down in 1995 that struck down a bunch of House districts in the South that were racially gerrymandered in order for there to be more black members of the House. And I can't remember how many black members were elected because of this racial gerrymandering, but I want to say maybe half a dozen, 8 of them. Supreme Court struck them down. The Supreme Court struck them down, and when the decision was made, the head of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, her name was Elaine Jones, I think, she said after this ruling takes into effect, the number of black members of the House could be fit into the back seat of a taxi cab. A couple of them decided not to run again, but several of them decided to run in what were now majority white districts. Every single one of these black Democrats who decided now to run in majority white districts, every single one of them got elected, got reelected. Did Jesse Jackson apologize for what he said? Did the NAACP apologize for what they said? No, of course not. They just moved on. I'm Larry Elder. 888-971-7243. Larry Elder, ReliefFactor.com studio, was on the Joe Piscopo show this morning.
Larry Elder's the man. He is heard weekdays at 8 and 10 p.m. right here on AM 970, The Answer. He's head of the new Elder for America Political Action Committee. This could be, and I think will be, the next governor of the great state of California. Larry, welcome to the show live. So great to catch up with you, my friend. How are you, brother?
Joseph, I'm doing great. I appreciate what you said about the Relief Factor commercial. I don't know if I told you that during the commercial, working with you, I just felt so much, what's the word I'm looking for? I found the word pain. I had to double my Relief Factor after that. Had to carry your Italian butt around. It was.
Man, I thought you look good. Yeah.
The Political Action Committee is elderforamerica.com, and I'm not going to run against him again in November. I've already made that announcement. That's why I set up the PAC. And I'm raising money to help take back the House, take back the Senate, to campaign in favor of school choice, to campaign to get rid of critical race theory, and to get rid of these soft-on-crime DAs that are causing crime to go up. I've not closed the door on a future race down the road, but coming November, I'm not going to go up against this guy again. I mean, we're outnumbered 3-1 in California. Hasn't been a Republican elected statewide in almost 20 years. And, the media just jumped all over me. They called me the black face of white supremacy. That's even worse than some of the stuff you've called me. I'll be honest.
That was my favorite, the black face of white supremacy. And I like the way you tweeted out, though. You tweeted out and you go, oh, I'm proudly the black face of white. What are they thinking? And by the way, so wait, just to be clear, Newsom he's up for re-election in November, and he's going to run again.
Oh, yeah. He's already announced. And what gets me is after the race is over, of course, my Republican rivals start taking shots at me. If Elder hadn't been so conservative, if Elder had not been so combative with the media, if Elder had not embraced the pro-life movement, if Elder had not gotten in there with the evangelicals, they all got a line about what happened. So I said, all right, let's find out how many of these Republican guys are going to run against him in November. Not a single one of them has announced. Including the one that had the most money. And that's because, in my opinion, we ran a really good campaign. On the replacement side, there are 58 counties in California. We carried 57 of them. The only one I lost was San Francisco, and I lost that by 149 votes. Didn't spend a dime on advertising. Didn't spend a minute campaigning there. It was a clean sweep. We got more votes than all the other 65 rivals combined. So if it's all that easy, if all Elder had to do was X, Y, and Z, then you got the formula, throw the hat in the ring, but they haven't done it.
I thought I didn't feel like you had the support from the party, Republican Party. First of all, let me tell you from the outside. You look great. It was great. You stepped up in a big way, Larry Elder, my friend, and you smoked it, man. And I'm telling you, around the country, I said, this is the guy. And I didn't feel the Republican Party in California backed you. If they did, then you may have done something. But your point is well taken. What do you do when we lost New York? We're all walking around. Those of us who love New York, Larry, it's turning into, hopefully Mayor Adams steps up, but it's all so ultra left, regressive socialist.
It is.
We lost California. Can you ever get these places back?
Well, you're right about the Republican Party. They did not endorse me, but the good news is they didn't endorse Kevin Faulconer, the two-term mayor of San Diego, who ran for a whole year. And I smoked him in his own county, carried it by 20 points. And they realized I galvanized the base. And they decided not to endorse anybody. So that was sort of a victory. But regarding what's going to happen in general, these two states, New York and California, have to hit rock bottom. And I've always said rock bottom is when a homeless guy relieves himself on your front lawn, provided your front lawn is in Brentwood or Malibu or Beverly Hills. And that's beginning to happen. This crime is starting to affect people who are wealthy. That UCLA graduate student who was murdered in Hancock Park, which is a very trendy, high-end area where Maxine Waters has her $5 million mansion. So it's starting to affect the kinds of elites that pull the lever for the Democratic Party and donate to the Democratic Party. So maybe, just maybe, at some point they're going to begin rethinking their assumptions. But they got to hit rock bottom like a drug addict. And they're not quite there yet. But sooner or later they got to get there.
What happened to that gal that was killed in Beverly Hills, the movie producer's gal? I mean, Beverly Hills, that was just a random violence act as well, right?
Apparently, it's an 80-year-old man married to a woman about the same age, and some guy broke into their home. They've got security, for crying out loud, at the home and still murdered her. They found the guy, and of course, one of these guys with a long, long criminal record, he never should have been out. And, of course, California has these soft-on-crime DAs, soft-on-crime governor who bragged that he oversaw the release of 18,000 convicted felons, many of whom were violent offenders. He bragged about it. And the guy should never have been out. We got cashless bail, so if you get busted, you don't have to post anything. It's ridiculous. ridiculous.
Yeah. And Larry, walk me through this, my friend. This Brianna, this beautiful gal, Brianna Kupfer, she's in Hancock Park. It's on La Brea. It's right there. We all know it. These are these over-the-top, high-end, it's a furniture store. This guy goes, then the audacity, the lack of caring. He just goes into a 7-Eleven afterwards. How does Newsom run again? How does the governor run again? And how do they vote for this guy after this?
Yeah, and it's a homeless guy, apparently, and he went in there and just stabbed her and just casually pointed out, just walked down the street. And a homeless guy, by the way, during my campaign, attacked Gavin Newsom. If Gavin Newsom hadn't had his security detail, who knows what would have happened? We got a huge homeless problem. Many of them are sociopaths, psychopaths, and they're starting to murder people at random. And again, we've got half of the homeless population in California from the entire country. And it's getting even worse. And for the first time in the state's 170-year history, we have a net migration out of California. And we've also lost a congressional seat because of that. Elon Musk has left. Ben Shapiro has left. Dave Rubin has just left. And a whole bunch of people are leaving, and they're taking their money and their votes with them.
Yeah, well, you got to hang in, and you should. I love that all that you do there, and you coming from a tough area, and then going on and being as successful as you are, Larry Elder. You got to keep the fight, my friend. Hey, you know what? So can we? Do we have any perks on that house that we shot the commercial in? That was like my favorite house. That was the Frank Sinatra house, man. Was it not? Was it not?
It was a beautiful house. It was a beautiful house. I'm not sure who designed it, but it was a great house. Real quickly, Joseph, about the Supreme Court.
Yes, please.
Here's what gets me. Joe Biden publicly says, I'm going to appoint a black female. Of course, what he meant was a black liberal female.
Yeah,
well, how about appointing the best person, the most competent person? Joe Biden happened to be Catholic. We've only had 2 Catholic presidents. Only 20% of the nation is Catholic. If people voted their religion, he never could have become president. Barack Obama never could have become president. People voted their race. When are you going to stop this? When you get on an airplane, you see a black person or a female pilot, you want to say, okay, I'm happy they have diversity, or let's hope this guy's a good pilot. Come on.
I know, but I'm guilty as charged, Larry. We talked about it at the Open this morning. When the Italians were appointed to the Supreme Court, I went, yes, get the Italians in. I wanted Antonin Scalia in there.
But that's not why Scalia was appointed. Scalia was appointed because he's brilliant. And by the way, do you know that he was nominated unanimously? Not a single person voted against him.
Wow. Well, how left is this Ketanji Jackson Brown? She's really way left, is she?
I don't really know the nominees. I do know this. There's the woman named Janice Brown. She was a conservative on the D.C. Court of Appeals.
Yeah.
If Joe Biden cared about competence, he wants to nominate a black female. How about Janice Rogers Brown? She just retired in 2017. Of course, she's conservative. He never considered her. The whole thing is ridiculous. This idea that you got to put a black this, a female that. We never had a left-handed Amish person on the Supreme Court. Is that what's next? Give me a break, Joseph.
It's so true. Yeah, Janice Rogers Brown appointed by H.W. Bush, I believe. And you're so right on the money. Hey, man, I can't wait to see it. That was so much fun spending some time with you, you know. And I thought we were efficient. We were quick. We got it done. And hopefully next time.
Right. And that commercial we did was completely, totally ad-lib. They saw you and I. We had this chemistry, and they said, hey, you guys ought to do this together. We said, I don't know.
I know. I'll let you go. But the next one they want to put me on a surfboard in California. And so, are you with me, Larry? Are you going to go a little surfing? Come on, on the beach.
Black guys don't surf. I'm sorry. I'm not. No, Megatron on that. No, we don't camp. We don't camp. We don't ski. We don't surf. I'm just saying.
I love you, man. Thank you, Larry Elder. Love you, brother. Take care. Love you too. He is so bad. That's not true. I think I saw a black surfer once. I did. I swear to goodness gracious. Larry, come on. Joe on the radio 10 minutes before 10 o'clock.
I think Janice Rogers Brown was appointed to the D.C. Court of Appeals by George W. Bush. California City approves first law in the country to require gun owners to carry liability insurance. Let's talk about gun crimes and whether or not the rise in crime is because of guns. I'm Larry Elder.
did you notice right before Biden called Peter Doocy an SOB, and when Doocy asked the question about inflation, the open mic caught Biden saying, very effective inflation, and then he called him an SOB. Am I the only one who caught that?
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. We're going to be talking about California city becoming the first law in the United States to require gun owners to carry liability insurance. The governor of New York is blaming the rise in crime on illegal guns as opposed to illegal use of guns by criminals. And special report on Fox News about Dr. Fauci downplaying reports that the COVID-19 escaped from a Wuhan lab. We say escaped. I think it's also a possibility it was released intentionally. But all of that and more, 888-971-SAGE. Now, the zip poll question I left you with last. If you donated to my campaign to recall California Governor Gavin Newsom, had you ever donated to a political candidate before? I asked the question because so many people told me when I was campaigning up and down the state, you're the first political candidate I've ever donated to. I said, really? Heard it over and over and over again. So I asked this question for our zip poll audience, and 40% of the people who donated to my campaign, 40% of those responding to the poll who donated to my campaign, said they had never donated to a candidate before. Wow. Here's the one for tonight. We'll go over the results tomorrow. Tomorrow is Can You Beat Kirk Phonebro Friday, isn't it? Wow. How time flew. Well, Larry, you kind of took off one day, so. During his presidential campaign, Joe Biden promised to nominate a black female to the Supreme Court. Does his promise to appoint a black female as opposed to the most qualified person offend you? A, yes, it offends me. Or B, no, there has never been a black female on the Supreme Court, and it's about time. In order to participate in this zip poll question, you must be a member of the zip poll community. Go to your app store, download the zip poll app by searching under Zip Poll USA, and be sure and use my code SAGE, S-A-G-E, in order for you to respond to this poll question. Also, you can go to my website, LarryElder.com, and check out my new column, which came out today, or as they say, just dropped today. It's called Biden Preemptively Questioned 2022, but Trump's a big liar about 2020, ? Although they didn't put the question mark there. And this article just summarizes some of the stuff we've talked about over the last several days. That when you look at the challenge that Donald Trump filed against Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, they weren't baseless challenges. He lost all three of them. But in the case of Michigan, the Michigan Supreme Court refused to take up the case, so they let standing the Michigan Court of Appeal ruling, which was 2-1. One judge filed a dissent and said the Secretary of State sent applications for mail-in ballots to every registered voter in Michigan, and the Secretary of State was not lawfully allowed to do that. That's what this dissent said. 2-1, close case. In Wisconsin, it was 4-3. Wisconsin also, the majority decided not to take up the case on procedural grounds, but there were 3 dissents, including one filed by the Chief Justice of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And among other things, she questioned the use of all these drop boxes all over the state, said there was no legal authority to do that. And just a few days ago, a judge in Waukesha, Wisconsin, ruled that these drop boxes were in fact illegal and should not be used in elections going forward. And when it comes to Pennsylvania, you had 2 left-wing professors, Jonathan Turley and Alan Dershowitz. Dershowitz felt that the challenge that Trump filed to overturn Pennsylvania would, first of all, be accepted by the U.S. Supreme Court, and that when the Supreme Court ruled, they were going to rule in Donald Trump's favor. They did not. But the point is, you have somebody as brilliant as Alan Dershowitz suggesting that the Pennsylvania rules were broken, that the U.S. Supreme Court should take up the case, and that when they did, Donald Trump would win. And then, just a few days ago, there was a videotape that was released, and apparently it was a videotape taken shortly after the November 2022 election, where you have Pennsylvania election officials, one of whom said, Next time, we're going to have to follow the law totally. And she laughed. Now, that's what we lawyers call a declaration against interest, meaning that she all but admitted that they did not follow the law, which is exactly the basis for the Donald Trump lawsuit. And again, he lost all 3 of those states. But had he won them, it certainly would have turned the election around. And we don't even have to talk about the suppression of the New York Post story about Hunter Biden's laptop, and the fact that it's clear from the laptop that Joe Biden knew what his son was doing despite his constant saying that he did not. And we don't even need to talk about the 2.5-year collusion investigation against Donald Trump. Dry hole. And of course, it drove Donald Trump's poll numbers down. And we don't have to talk about the $419.5 million that was spent by Zuckerberg, the head of Facebook, in order to influence the election. Election officials were given the money, presumably to make the election more fair, except the money was used in order to help Democrats. And Zuckerberg clearly knew that the money would be used for that purpose. That was the basis for that book written by Molly Hemingway called Rigged. And it's stunning what the money was used for and how the money benefited Democrats. So you add all that together, no wonder Donald Trump is cheesed off about the 2020 election. And much of the country, sane, rational, sensible Americans, feel exactly the same way about 2020. You don't have to be a nutcase or a conspiracy theorist or a sore loser to question the integrity of the 2020 election, in my humble opinion. Anyway, the column called Biden Preemptively Questions 2022, but Trump's a big liar about 2020 is up on LarryElder.com. Share it with your friends and your family, those of them who are on the other side. All right, let's go to the phones. 888-971-SAGE is the number, 888-971-7243. Let's see. Mr. McConnell, can you help me with the cursor here? Doesn't seem to want to go. I got it. Never mind. Matthew is in Santa Rosa, California. Matthew, you're in the Larry Elder Show. Do we have Matthew? Phil is in Philadelphia. Phil, always nice to hear from you.
Thanks, Larry. I'm calling you from the city of brotherly thugs. We're about at 40 murders so far this year. It's sickening here. But, I don't mean this as a joke, but the Democratic Party with this identity politics that they're using, you got to be this, you got to be that, you got to look like this. I'm sure there's a black male judge out there that is super duper qualified to be on the Supreme Court, who should stand up and say, hey, I woke up today, I'm a woman, and see what Biden does with that. Look at what you did with the health minister that they put up there, Rachel Levine. She's from Pennsylvania. He's from Pennsylvania, Milton Levine. He's not an MD. He does child psychiatry. He's a nut. It's a nutcase. But why not? Why not play their game and get appointed to the Supreme Court, a man identifying as a woman, and then, you know what, he comes up the step, he bumps his head, he said, oh, you know what, I am a man.
Well, and Phil, there are clearly qualified black people to be on the Supreme Court. Why do you have to say, I want a black person? Why? What's the point?
Hey, Larry. This is Nathan from Paradise, California. Just a question for you. Joe Biden says that this is the pandemic of the unvaccinated. And whenever I meet a vaccinated liberal and ask them why they care who else is vaccinated, they say that the unvaccinated are creating the variants. Well, if that's true, and it's also true that the Omicron variant is burning out the COVID-19 virus, as many believe it will, isn't it the unvaccinated then that ended the pandemic? Just a thought. Thanks, Larry. Love your show.
Hey, Larry, I only have one question. What on earth could possibly be more important at this time in history than isolating the origin of COVID-19? Why isn't the UN leading an all-out effort to find out, hey, how do we prevent this from happening again? It's like it's a hot potato. Nobody wants to talk about it.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. To that end, we're going to play at least part of a Brett Baier from Fox report on the fact that Dr. Fauci has apparently minimized reports and evidence that suggests the COVID-19 came from a Wuhan lab. He has repeatedly suggested that it didn't, that it occurred in nature, but this report suggests that he knows otherwise and downplayed it. All of that and more. Also, Sweden is not recommending the vaccine for kids age 5 to 11. They say the benefits do not outweigh the risks. And there's a new Project Veritas report that says homeless people are being given $100 to get the vaccine. And as a result, they're taking the vaccine over and over and over again. Sort of inconsistent with medical ethical principles, don't you think? All of that and more, 888-971-SAGE. Now, towels don't seem to dry anymore. They feel all soft and lotiony until you get them home, then they don't work. So Mike scoured the country, found the best towel company right here in the country. They've got proprietary technology to create towels that not only feel soft, but they also work. Made with USA cotton, and they come with the standard MyPillow 60-day money-back guarantee. We're talking about a 6-piece set, 2 bath, 2 hand towels, 2 washcloths, made with USA cotton, soft yet absorbent. Regularly $109.99, now $39.99. Just go to MyPillow.com, click on the new radio listener specials, and get deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including the MyPillow towels. Enter promo code Larry or call 800-890-1843 for these great radio specials. That's 800-890-1843 or MyPillow.com, promo code Larry, 1-800-890-1843. Jen Psaki was asked whether or not Joe Biden would consider nominating Kamala Harris to the Supreme Court.
Okay, then let me ask you a couple other questions. Is there any scenario in which the president would select his Vice President Kamala Harris for the Supreme Court?
Again, I'm not going to speak to any considerations, preparations, lists, and as we've stated earlier, and you heard the president say, there's a long history of Supreme Court justices determining when they may retire, if they retire, and announcing that. And we're going to, that remains the case today.
Michael is in Sacramento, California. Michael, you're on the Larry Elder Show. Thank you so much for calling.
Yeah, the suggestion that there's somehow racism involved and the fact that Biden has said that he will select a black female, or sexism for that matter too, that he will select a black female for the Supreme Court. I mean, would you say that Branch Rickey was racist because he intentionally picked a black player in 1947?
Branch Rickey was motivated by beating the damn Yankees. That's why Jackie Robinson became an infielder with the Brooklyn Dodgers.
But he said he specifically was picking a black player.
He was specifically picking Jackie Robinson because he felt Jackie Robinson had the temperament in order to deal with the racism that Jackie Robinson was going to encounter. But believe me, he was not doing it to be a good guy. He was doing it because he thought he could beat the Yankees.
Okay. He picked someone specifically because they were black. He picked Jackie Robinson specifically because he felt that as a black person with his temperament, he'd be able to deal with the racism that that Branch Rickey knew that Jackie Robinson would face. But his goal was to get a player who could beat. You're answering 75% of the question. Okay.
Michael, I don't understand. I don't understand why there's antagonism here. I'm answering your question. You don't like the way I'm answering it, so you're bothered. His motivation was to beat the Yankees. His motivation was to get a player who could help them win.
Okay, but there were definitely, unquestionably, better players than Robinson available. There were also better players. Hold
on, Michael. Michael, there were better players than Robinson who were available, who were black. But the reason that Jackie Robinson was selected is that you want to hear my answer or not? Thank you.
You're not letting me say where you're wrong.
No, you're cutting me off. Maybe if you let me finish, you'd realize that I'm not wrong.
You said the same thing.
Okay, you're gone. Jackie Robinson was chosen because A, he had a college degree from UCLA. He felt that he had the intelligence to deal with the stuff he was going to be facing. He had also been a lieutenant in the Army and felt that he had the temperament to deal with the racism. That's why he was selected. Now, inflation rates are running higher than interest on the T-bonds. With every day that passes, the government owes less on its mountain of debt. Protect your savings right now. Hedge against inflation with gold from Birch Gold. Birch Gold will help you convert an eligible IRA or 401k into an IRA backed by real gold. Thousands of satisfied customers, A-plus rating with the BBB. You can trust Birch Gold to protect your savings. Text Larry to 989898 to get a free info kit on holding gold in a tax-sheltered account. Text Larry 989898.
Hey, Larry, I love the job you do. And one other thing, balance in nature made me feel 10 years younger. I called to express my unhappiness, I guess it would be, towards the Republican Party. We have too many Republicans helping Democrats, and it's going to cost us the country. It's going to cost us the country. I appreciate everything you're doing, though. Thank you.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Going to play you at least part of a Brett Baier report indicating that Dr. Fauci was well aware of reports indicating that the virus had escaped from a Wuhan lab and downplayed the evidence, even publicly said the opposite, that said he thought it would occur naturally in the environment. Regarding Republicans that hurt the country, that conspired against us, I felt the same way when I was running for governor. Had about maybe half a dozen or so, let's call them major Republican rivals. And when I decided to run, my campaign and I sat down in my house and we were strategizing on how to deal with our rivals. And both of us, my campaign manager and I, agreed that it made 0 sense to take shots at our rivals. Because remember, this is a recall election. The first part is that 50% plus one of the voters had to vote to recall Gavin Newsom. And then whoever got the most votes on the replacement side would replace him. So unless we convince voters in California that because of the crime, because of the way this man ignored the science and shut down the state, shut down the businesses, shut down in-person education, a third of all small businesses, small restaurants, rather, gone forever in California, most of them run by, quote, people of color, close quote, the way he sat up there at the French Laundry restaurant with the very people that trafficked the mandates, not wearing masks, not engaging in social distancing, having a good time, incurring a $12,000 wine tab while telling everybody else to shut her down, shutter in place. And, of course, you have the phenomenon of people leaving this state for the first time in the state's 170-year history, the poor quality of government schools. And I said, if we don't convince voters, 50% of the voters casting votes plus one, that this man ought to go, it doesn't matter about the replacement votes. And so we determined that we would not say one negative thing about any of our Republican rivals. And I stuck to that and had all sorts of times, opportunities to do it. One time I'm interviewing with a local reporter, and he said, let's play a little lightning round. He started naming the names of my Republican rivals. I said, I'm sorry, not playing. Say Gavin Newsom, get your reaction to my opinion about him. Put pressure on him to debate me. That's why I'm here. I'm not here to talk about my Republican rivals. But they did not act likewise. One of them was asked during a debate, well, Larry Elder says women are dumber than men. And he said, that's BS, except he didn't say BS. He said the actual compound word. And he didn't say, what's your basis for saying that? What's your source for saying that? Turned out the debate moderator had found a column I wrote called The She Issues, S-H-E. She stands for Social Security, Healthcare, and Education. And in the column I wrote that according to a study done by University of Pennsylvania, women care more about Social Security, healthcare, and education than do men. And men and women were given 25 questions about politics. And men knew more than women did in 15. They knew the same in 9. Women knew more than men did in only 1. And one of the professors at University of Pennsylvania, the Annenberg School, is a female liberal. She's still there. And she said the reason women knew less than men did on these political questions is that women, quote, get their primary source of news from local news. And watching local news makes you dumber, end of quote. I didn't say it. I quoted this female professor who's still there. And so the debate moderator read that column, and that translated into Larry Elder thinks women are dumber than men, and that evoked that response from my Republican rival who said, that's BS. And so that became the narrative that Larry Elder is hostile towards females. And others took shots as well. And what's interesting is I recently was interviewed by a columnist from the UK. The magazine is called the UK Spectator. It's conservative. We sat down and had dinner, and he interviewed several of my Republican rivals. And he told me they all said that if you had done this, if you had done that, if you had not embraced the evangelical community, if you had been less pro-life if you had not been combative with the media. They all had a line as to why I lost the campaign. I said, all right, riddle me this. The deadline for filing to run against Gavin Newsom is March 11. Why is it that not a single one of these people has decided to throw his hat or her hat, I'm referring to Caitlyn Jenner, into the ring to run again? After all I had to do was X, Y, and Z, or not do X, Y, and Z. They all had the formula. All Elder had to do was just do this and do this and do this and do this, and voila. So why haven't they stepped up? They, of course, are happy to kick back as Monday morning quarterbacks and say what I did wrong, but not a single one of them is willing to run again in a rematch. Why? I'll tell you why. We galvanized the base, got 49%, which is roughly the same percentage that Arnold Schwarzenegger did in the recall election back in 2003 when the electoral landscape was very different. Right now, there are 5% more registered Democrats. There are 50% more registered independents, and independents in California vote Democrat, according to the New York Times. There are 25% fewer registered Republicans. And still, on the replacement side, I got about, I think, a little bit higher than the percentage of the vote as was obtained by Arnold Schwarzenegger back in 2003. More votes than all the other, I said 65 people to the Joe Piscopo show, it's 45, greater percentage of the vote than the other 45 rivals combined. And as I mentioned to Joe, I carried 57 counties. The only one I didn't carry was San Francisco, and we didn't campaign there, and we didn't spend one dime on advertising there because we felt it was hopeless. And when you lost that by 149 votes, raised more money in 8 weeks than did the other major Republican rivals did in the whole year. And they know this. So they said, if Elder couldn't win, if Elder couldn't beat this guy in a recall election, what hope do I have in a mano election where it takes 50% of the vote, considering that no Republican has won statewide in California in 20 years? That's why they haven't decided to run again. But there's still time until March. Let's find out whether or not if Caitlyn Jenner or Kevin Faulconer, the two-term mayor of San Diego, who tried desperately to get the endorsement from the California Republican Party, and they were all going to do it until I got in, and they decided not to endorse anybody. And one of them, Kevin Kiley, has already decided he's not going to run against Gavin Newsom again. He's going to run for the House. So you tell me how it is that these guys say I should have done this, this, and this. They've got the magic formula, but none of them has stepped up to run against Gavin Newsom again. I'm just saying. Now, order the 3-week quick start if you've got back, neck, shoulder, hip, foot, knee pain from exercise or just getting older. The docs who designed Relief Factor believes our bodies are designed to heal. And to that end, they selected the 4 best ingredients, each of which are 100% drug-free, to deal with pain from a different metabolic pathway. That is why we are charging less than $1 a day to see if we can get you out of pain. Over 70% of those who order the 3-week quick start go on to order more. Then after that, less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day for you to stay out of pain. Give your body what it needs to heal itself. ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com, 800-500-8384, 800-500-8384.
Hey, Larry, this is Tom from Louisville, Kentucky. I just want to say thank you for talking about your book, Dear Father, Dear Son, or as we know it earlier, as we know it now, A Lot Like Me. I picked up a copy recently, and I can't put it down. Outstanding book. Thank you. Thanks for talking about it over the Christmas break, and appreciate all you do. Keep up the good work, Larry. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. That book may very well be made into a movie. I will keep you posted. Next hour, Sweden is not recommending vaccinating kids age 5 to 11. They say the benefits do not outweigh the risks. And there's a new Project Veritas video showing disadvantaged people taking excessive vaccine for tax-funded gift card incentives and for money. Homeless people being vaccinated over and over and over again. Talk about violating the Hippocratic Oath. We'll be talking about all of that. And Dr. Mark Siegel of Fox said the idea of a mandate is not public health. It's politics, and Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida teed off on the decision to halt monoclonal antibody for his state. All of that and more. Diane is in Lake Ariel, Pennsylvania. Diane, you're on the Larry Elder Show. Thank you very much for calling.
Hello. I'm so happy to hear you. You're the only news channel I have. I do not have a TV. Only have a house phone. Do not have a cell phone. And in this area, we have no cell tower. And today was the first day that I got out to go shopping to Boscov's, and I saw Scranton Expressway, and it was changed to, I wish I had a camera. I didn't have one. It said Biden Expressway, and all the restaurants on Spruce Street had to change the name to Biden, and it cost all the restaurants a lot of money. And I don't think the country's going in the right direction, and I listen to you every day, all day. I live in between. I'm like 15 minutes from Scranton, 15 minutes from Lake Wallenpaupack. And you're doing a wonderful job. Keep it up. And my younger brother in Long Island, Mastic Beach Shirley, he voted not the way I wanted to.
Well, there's always somebody in the family, right, Diane? Diane, thank you for calling. Isn't it interesting? They're naming stuff after Biden already? I don't think they started naming stuff after Obama until after Obama left office, didn't they? Wow. Diane, thank you very much for that. COVID Hour coming up. I'm Larry Elder. 888-971 SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. A number of you want to weigh in. Patrick from Haywood, and David from San Antonio, Mason from Eagan, Minnesota. Is it Kali or Call from California? Ray, Cal? Go see Cal, go see Cal, go see Cal. All right, Cal. Ray from Washington, D.C., Stephen from Sarasota, Florida. So do not leave town. We'll chat in the next segment, okay? 888-971 SAGE is the number. Sweden not recommending vaccinating kids ages 5 to 11. The Swedish Health Agency announced that, quote, the benefits do not outweigh the risks, close quote. Tell that to the CDC. Business Insider reported Sweden broke with most of the rest of the world and never mandated that people wear masks during the coronavirus pandemic. And they believe that there is low risk of serious disease for kids, and therefore, quote, we don't see any clear benefit with vaccinating them, end of quote, says the Swedish Health Agency. She said the decision could be revisited if research changes or if a new variant changed the pandemic. She said high-risk groups can already get the vaccine if they're kids. Now, Project Veritas released another undercover video showing that the disadvantaged are being taken for a ride. Excessive vaccines for using tax-funded gift card incentives to people, including homeless people, who are getting vaccinated several times in order to get $100. Listen to this.
But you find people that'll do it 5-6 times just because of the incentive.
Well, maybe just go and not say that you've been there before. Just give them a different name. Say you have no ID.
Why don't you, if you want to do that so badly, try something else where it's not the same company.
Go somewhere where it's like extremely busy. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't keep putting the vaccine in your mouth.
These are employees of a New York contracted medical provider called DocGo/ambulance. And they are literally discussing how people are putting this vaccine into homeless people and other disadvantaged people over and over and over by giving them an incentive for $100.
People in homeless shelters are getting multiple vaccines in order to collect $100.
Right.
Is that ethical?
Absolutely not.
We showed you shocking video of young children being vaccinated with the wrong mixture of the COVID vaccine and the apparent government negligence that led to it happening in the first place. We'll show you even more disturbing details of the story, where lower income and homeless people get vaccinated multiple times because of the financial incentive being given out.
$100? Well, maybe just go and not say that you've been there before. Just give them a different name. Say you have no ID.
Some being vaccinated upwards of 5 to 6 times, which could potentially have severe impacts on their health. Not even the doctors we've spoken with could tell us the health impacts this might have. Your other colleagues mentioned that people in homeless shelters are getting multiple vaccines in order to collect $100.
Right.
Is that ethical?
Absolutely not.
Do you know anything about that happening?
When I worked, I've heard probably 3 to 4 times that people that were in the homeless shelters were going to get the vaccination and receiving the $100 incentive, but they were getting vaccinated over 5-6 times. And they were getting the incentive. So you're talking about over $500-600 each time. And I said, well, how does that work? And they were changing their names around.
In the shelter, in the bus, like at the shelters, and they get vaccinated like 6-7 times.
We've had that. But when you put it through the system,
Yeah.
the person's name will come up.
Yeah.
You know, all the demographics and direct relations to that person. But you find people that'll do it 5-6 times just because of the incentive.
Yeah, but then how do they get in there, though?
You got this one guy. If you put him through the system, he's passed all the boosters. He's the first, the second, 3 boosters, and he keeps continuously trying this. So we're like, no, we can't.
Oh my God, but he got in a bunch of times. So it just depends if he gets the right nurse that says, all right, come on over, right?
Or even an admin, like I'm the admin. When you put that in it, you're supposed to get that flag anyway.
Right. So how do they bypass the flag?
By flipping the names and the date of birth. That's why they do it, because of the incentive, the money.
There's somebody registering the patient. I'm not registering them. I'm reviewing their information and administering a vaccine to them.
NewYorkCity.gov, along with New York Health and Hospitals, are very public about this incentive program. They're advertising it. Get $100 free with your free COVID-19 vaccine, New York City Health and Hospitals. What are your thoughts on that?
One of the workers, the admins, she told me that some of the gift cards were empty, that when people went to go retrieve their money, that there was some money on the gift cards. And I said, well, how does that happen? And she goes, we don't know.
As it turns out, the $100 gift cards being given to people as an incentive to get vaccinated were empty. Nobody seems to know how or why this happened, but some speculate the cards were used before being given out.
You guys had the gift card. The last one I got didn't have any money on it.
What gift card?
$100. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe just go and not say that you've been there before. Just give them a different name. Say you have no ID.
Go somewhere where it's like extremely busy. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't keep putting the vaccine in your body.
Why not?
Because it's only made for
You're not just supposed to take shots. So there's a rule. So if you're taking the Johnson & Johnson, you're not supposed to take it for another 2 months.
Why don't you, if you want to do that so badly, try something else where it's not the same company.
Do you think that would work?
Yeah, I know that.
The city, this came out yesterday, the city has processed some 7,000 complaints about the Akimbo brand vaccine incentive card since the initiative launched in July, according to city spokesperson Joanne Allen, who added that more than 730,000 cards have been distributed. How do you know that that this is happening? Is this something you've overheard, something you've heard about, something you've seen yourself?
I've had somebody come to me when giving a vaccine. I was discussing with a patient that I gave the vaccine to. I have to review how to receive the incentive. The patient overheard and said, well, don't get it mailed to your house because it's been 4 months and I haven't received mine yet. One of the workers, the administrator, the admin that I was working with, said that a lot of cards were empty. And I just didn't understand how they could become empty.
Speaking of which, we have another video clip.
The guy came up to us and he had in his phone, he put his card in. We vaccinated him like October, say, 27th. It stated that his money was taken off August 13th.
What?
Yeah. He had just got his vaccine.
So
it was in the system that the money was already removed. We're giving out blank cards because someone is taking the money.
It doesn't make any sense, and it's something that should never happen. So when I explain it to somebody, my friend, a coworker, that I did the vaccine, you'll never believe they had the wrong mixture. And
They don't believe you.
They don't believe me.
You don't think they believe you because it's so outrageous.
It's outrageous and negligent. It's so negligent.
And this is federal government money. Billions of dollars are being used.
It's all about money. It's all about money at the end of the day. They don't care what happens. And I did not even want to come forward because I said it's me against the government. And there's parents that don't have an income that are using their kids to get that $100 incentive. So they're gonna, of course, bring their kid in to get a vaccine and get the $100 incentive.
It is clear that government contracts rushed in the panic of a global pandemic can lead to disastrous consequences. Thanks to brave people coming to us from the inside, we're able to bring stories like this to light. We hope it motivates others in similar situations to come forward. Be brave. Do something. Send us a tip at veritastips@protonmail.com.
We come back, we go to the phones. Also, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is criticizing the decision to halt monoclonal antibody treatments. All of that and more, 888-971-SAGE. I am Larry Elder. Do not leave town.
Hey, Larry, this is Gordon from Sacramento. Just wondering, how come if there's 1 million Muslims that are in concentration camps in China, how come the Muslim countries like Iran and Saudi Arabia and all the rest of them, how come they don't come to the rescue of their own people? Why is it up to the United States, the UN, or anybody else?
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Excellent question. Why didn't the Muslims take out Saddam Hussein? Why didn't they take out Osama bin Laden? All the Muslims they killed? 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243 is the number. My column this week, Biden preemptively questions 2022, but Trump's a big liar about 2020, question mark, up on LarryElder.com. Be sure and check it out. And the zip poll question I left you with last. If you donated to my campaign to recall California Governor Gavin Newsom, had you ever donated to a political candidate before? 40% of those who responded to this poll question who said they donated to my campaign said they had never donated to a campaign before. That's pretty impressive. Here's the one for tonight. We'll go over the results tomorrow on Phone a Bro Can You Beat Kirk Friday. During his presidential campaign, Joe Biden promised to nominate a black female to the Supreme Court. Does his promise to appoint a black female as opposed to the most qualified person offend you? A, yes, it offends me. B, no, there has never been a black female in the Supreme Court. It's about time. In order to participate, you must be a member of the Zip community. Go to your app store. Find the Zip poll by searching under Zip Poll USA, and be sure and use my code SAGE, S-A-G-E, in order to participate. Patrick is in Hayward, California. Patrick on the Larry Elder Show. Thank you so much for calling.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call, Governor Elder. First of all, I'd like to say I'm unvaccinated. My wife got vaccinated. Well, I shouldn't say vaccinated. She took the drug and got boosted. We both got COVID. I'm doing much better than she is, but I really called because, Biden is attacking small businesses again by having Scranton name all these things after him. There's no way I'm going to eat at a Biden sandwich shop. If you want me to go to get a beet farm sandwich, I'm going to Dwight Schrute or Michael Scott. I'm not getting anything from anything that says Biden on it. I love your show, Larry. Please, God, run my state.
Well, thank you very much, Patrick, for the call. I appreciate it. David is in San Antonio. David, you're on the Larry Elder Show.
Yes, sir. 2 30-second points, but to start off, Paris Island Devil Dog, and I was going through a phase where I wasn't leaving the Republican Party. They were leaving me, and they were devolving back into the wigs they came from. However, with Ura spirit, you threw your hat in the ring, showing the other Republicans we are not defeated until we accept defeat. And that if the first Marines had been like that, they would have been destroyed at the Chosin Reservoir. And I salute you and say, Semper Fi, brother.
Semper Fi. Thank you very much for that. Although I'm not a former Marine, my dad was. I don't want to act like I was. I did not serve. Other people did, so that I can be here and enjoy the freedom that they fought and preserved for us.
True, but the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
Thank you.
My second point is this. We need to stand up and hold the Democrats accountable to the same standards they expect for everyone else. Because as Lord Action tells us, power corrupts. It's not that. It's when there's no accountability and they're being allowed to get away with it using emotional blackmail and propaganda, et cetera, et cetera. Your opinion, sir?
I agree with you 100%. Absolutely. Thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it. Mason is in Eagan, Minnesota. Mason, you're on the Larry Elder Show.
Hi, Larry. Thanks for taking my call. Love your show. I'm a 24-year-old living in the Twin Cities area of Minnesota, and so, it can feel a little isolating here sometimes in such a liberal area with my conservative opinions, especially at my age. But, your show's always been a breath of fresh air, so thanks for that. I just wanted to get hear your thoughts on something really quick. I didn't have a lot of money for college. My parents didn't have a lot of money for me for college, so, I sacrificed doing the whole big state school, taking out a lot of money, and lived at home and went to a smaller school. And, luckily I graduated in 2019 with, only $50,000 in debt, but, that might not seem like a lot compared to what a lot of other people have. But, for someone who never had a lot of money, it's a lot of money. But, I got a good job and I just paid it all off and made my last payment actually right before the holidays. So I'm debt free and it feels great, but I can't help but also have like a sinking feeling in my stomach. Like if Biden cancels student debt, I don't know a lot about politics. I'm not sure what the likelihood would be of him actually canceling student debt. Wouldn't I deserve to get my $50,000 back?
Well, that's
and put that towards something.
Well, Mason,
like
that's one of the big
arguments on a home or something.
Right. Well, Mason, that's one of the big arguments against it. All the people who busted their butt, took out loans, worked second jobs, took jobs on campus in order to reduce the amount of money that they owe. You guys are being made fools out of. All of a sudden, AOC and some of the other members of the Democratic Party yelling and screaming about how much student debt they had. What about all the people that took out student debt and paid it back? Do they get some sort of reparations for all of that? It's outrageous. What are the likelihood is that Joe Biden will pull this off? I don't think the Build Back Better thing blew up. Part of Build Back Better, at least for a while, had student debt forgiveness. I don't believe it's going to happen. And I believe that if it were to happen, if the Congress somehow passed it and Joe Biden signed it, there would be a backlash like you wouldn't believe because of people just like you. So, and by the way, a disproportionate amount of student debt is taken out by people in the upper classes, going to places like Harvard and Yale that are far more expensive. So it will disproportionately benefit the white male privileged people that the left claims that has taken advantage of us. And they're always talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the biggest beneficiaries of student debt would be the very white males and white upper class people that the left claims that they are that dominate our culture and dominate our society. So, for all those reasons, I don't believe that the president will be so stupid as to sign a bill to forgive student debt. But believe me, the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, in other words, the Democratic Party, because they're all progressives pretty much, would like to cancel student debt. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. How much in this segment, Mr. McConnell? Okay. We come back. We're going to be talking about the report that Fox News' Brett Baier did regarding Dr. Fauci. Apparently, Dr. Fauci had a good idea that the Wuhan virus escaped from a lab, even as he said that he didn't think it did. Here's Dr. Mark Siegel of Fox talking about the idea of a mandate.
I think the government has been spending way too much time mandating everything. It comes across as bullying. Masks haven't even been studied against Omicron. We don't know how well they work. Why don't we start with we don't know? And the chances are they do something. And the chances are that a KN95 or a better mask works better than one that is a cloth mask. We've studied cloth masks. They're hanging off people's faces. They're not working. So the idea of the mandate is not public health. It's politics. Do I recommend masks in close quarters with a lot of people? Yes, I recommend them. But if I start with the stick rather than the carrot, I'm going to get a lot of people turned off, and that's the mistake here.
And Florida Governor Ron DeSantis criticizing the decision to halt monoclonal antibody treatments. All of that and more. I'm Larry Elder. Do not leave town.
And let me ask you a couple other questions. Is there any scenario in which the president would select his Vice President Kamala Harris for the Supreme Court?
Again, I'm not going to speak to any considerations, preparations, lists, and as we've stated earlier, and you heard the president say, there's a long history of Supreme Court justices determining when they may retire, if they retire, and announcing that. And we're going to, that remains the case today.
Yeah, Larry, this is Dennis in Central Texas. Just add a note, I mean, they keep talking about filibuster, or Democrats do, the regressive wing of the Democratic Party. They want to get rid of the filibuster because they want to get some of their stuff through. Isn't that the difference between, or one of the main differences between the Senate and the House? That's supposed to be a deliberative body that really thinks through things and discusses things before they pass it. It's a popularity contest in the House. If they get rid of the filibuster, basically we have two houses of representatives, just more of them in one than the other. Anyway, you have a good day. Thanks.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. I have a comment about what Jen Psaki said about Kamala Harris in just a second. Now, towels just don't dry you anymore. They feel all soft and lotiony in the stores. You get them home, they just don't absorb. Well, Mike Lindell scoured the country, found the best towel company. They've got proprietary technology to create towels that feel soft but actually work. Here's the deal. 6-piece set, 2 bath, 2 hand towels, and 2 washcloths. Made with USA cotton, soft yet absorbent, regularly $109.99, now just $39.99. So go to MyPillow.com, click on the new radio listener specials, get deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including the towels. Enter promo code Larry or call 800-890-1843 for these great radio specials, or MyPillow.com, promo code Larry. Again, 1-800-890-1843, 1-800-890-1843. Lawrence Tribe is a liberal Harvard professor, and he, during the Trump administration, said this, quote, "While the vice president has the power to cast a tie-breaking vote to pass a bill, the Constitution does not give him or her the power to break ties when it comes to the Senate's advice and consent role in approving presidential appointments to the Supreme Court," end of quote. In other words, Senate is 50-50, and yes, Kamala Harris can break a tie when it comes to a bill, but when it comes to whether or not somebody's nominee to the Supreme Court is approved, according to Lawrence Tribe, the Harvard professor, liberal, voted for Obama, of course, he says the VP cannot cast a tie-breaking vote, meaning the nomination doesn't go anywhere. You know who else said that? Alan Dershowitz. It'll be very interesting to find out what, if anything, Mitch McConnell says about that, and what, if anything, Jen Psaki says about that. 888-971-SAGE. Ray is in Washington, D.C. Ray, you're on the Larry Elder Show.
Hey, Larry, God bless you, brother.
God bless you, Ray. Thanks for calling.
Am I coming through?
You're coming through loud and clear.
Cool. Man, I didn't know when you were going to hit me there, but listen, I drive a cab around all the time. It's a type of cab, and I listened to you, and I wanted to verify something or actually just say something very kind towards you. I'm a born-again believer, and I know when someone is speaking the truth, and I know when someone's speaking garbage, and you are speaking the truth. And I want to admit that to all that want to hear. You are on the money, brother. It's never been about race. It is about truth. And these people that are I'm sorry to say, the Lord told me not to get into politics, and I'm not really trying to. I just want to, for anybody that has ears to hear, I know the Lord. I'm born of the Holy Spirit, and I know the Bible, and I'm telling you, man, that you're speaking the truth and you're backing it up for what's right. And these people that are leading our country right now, they are going to lead us. They are the blind leading the blind, and the Bible says they both shall fall into a pit. And you know the part that angers me the most about them? They use race for political power, and they use race to divide us. The Bible's very clear about it. It tells you any nation divided against itself cannot stand. We're in trouble, man. We need help here. You know what I mean? I don't know whether the Lord is going to bless us and allow us, 4 more years with the right type of president to put this thing back together. But we are in some dire straits, and I know that you know it better than anybody, and I'm coming to the end of what I want to say. I want to hear what you think, because I know you're a professional, but it's pretty ugly, man. They're using every means possible. If all you got to do is just know the word of God, they're using every means possible to destroy this country. That's what they're doing. And I'll be honest with you. You can comment on it. They are trying to collapse us, brother, and establish socialism. What do you think?
I don't disagree with anything you said. They're substituting government for family and for God. And that, by the way, is what my sequel to my movie, Uncle Tom, is all about, Uncle Tom 2. Ray, thank you so much for the kind remarks. God bless you. We're in this together. We've got a country to save. Now, here's the deal. If you're struggling with back, neck, shoulder, hip, knee pain from exercise or general muscle aches and pain, order the 3-week Quick Start. Still discounted, only $19.95. That is less than $1 a day to see if we can get you out of pain. After that, we're talking about less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day to stay out of pain. The doctors who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, each of which are 100% drug-free to deal with pain from a different metabolic pathway. So just go to relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com, or call 800-500-8384, 800-500-8384.
Hi, Larry. Thanks for everything you do. I just called to comment on Joe Biden. He is absolutely destroying this country as fast as he can. I can't believe it. and nobody's trying to stop him. He's just destroying the United States.
8GE888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Following up on what Ray just now said, Joe Biden just reiterated the mantra from the left, health care is a right. It's not a right. Where in the Constitution does it say health care is a right to which people are entitled? It's a commodity, like food, like house. Why aren't those rights? And the best way to make sure that a commodity is accessible, the quality is good, and the price is competitive is for more competition. Now listen to this.
As we enter the third year of the COVID-19 pandemic, fresh questions are being raised about what American scientists and federal health officials knew about how and where the coronavirus originated and whether they tried to suppress conflicting evidence. It's not a mere abstract second guessing. Understanding the origins was key then and remains so to deal with a virus that has proven stubbornly persistent. Tonight, what we've learned on the evolving U.S. government response. January 2020, the world first learns that patients in Wuhan, China are suffering serious complications from an unknown virus. And we soon realize infections from a novel coronavirus are fueling a fast-spreading global pandemic. By mid-month, the first U.S. case of COVID is reported in Washington state. Health experts conclude the outbreak is due to human-to-human transmission. Federal officials scrambling to contain its spread offer mixed messaging.
We are urging China. More cooperation and transparency are the most important steps you can take toward a more effective response.
It's really a big difference with the Chinese this time now. They look like they're being quite transparent and cooperative with us.
But how did such a deadly virus emerge so swiftly, so suddenly from a central Chinese province? New internal communications from the National Institutes of Health obtained by Fox News show in the earliest days of the crisis, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the head of the agency's Infectious Diseases Institute, is warned COVID may have leaked from a Chinese government-run lab, the Wuhan Institute of Virology. January 27th. Fauci is told the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases has been indirectly funding the Wuhan lab through EcoHealth Alliance, a U.S.-based scientific nonprofit that had been working with novel coronaviruses. January 31st, Dr. Christian Anderson, a noted virologist at the Scripps Lab, privately tells Fauci that after discussions with his colleagues, some of COVID-19's features potentially look engineered and, quote, the genome is inconsistent with expectations from evolutionary theory, meaning the virus may have been genetically manipulated. Fauci reacts immediately and organizes an all-hands-on-deck conference call with colleagues. He tells the deputy director of the agency, Dr. Hugh Auchincloss, of the urgency. Quote, it's essential that we speak this AM. Keep your cell phone on. Read this paper as well as the email that I will forward to you now. You will have tasks today that must be done. Later that day, Auchincloss confirms a study into experiments with the novel coronavirus funded through the NIAID may not have gone through proper biosafety review and oversight. He tells Fauci their staff will, quote, try to determine if we have any distant ties to this work abroad. Hours later, Fauci convenes a conference call with a dozen worldwide virologists. Notes of that hastily arranged meeting obtained by Fox News reveal suspicions of a Wuhan lab leak are suppressed over concerns that public revelations of Chinese involvement would do, quote, great potential harm to science and international harmony. Quote, further debate about such accusations would unnecessarily distract top researchers from their active duties and do unnecessary harm to science in general and science in China in particular. But some immunologists are not convinced. Dr. Mike Farzan is quoted as saying, I think it becomes a question of how do you put all this together, whether you believe in this series of coincidences, what you know of the lab in Wuhan, how much could be in nature, accidental release or natural event. I'm 70-30 or 60-40. Another scientist at the meeting, Dr. Robert Gary of Tulane University, is more adamant. Quote, I really can't think of a plausible natural scenario where you get from the bat virus or one very similar to it to nCoV, where you insert exactly 4 amino acids, 12 nucleotide, that all have to be added at the exact same time to gain this function. That, and you don't change any other amino acid in S2. I just can't figure out how this gets accomplished in nature. Of course, in the lab, it would be easy to generate the perfect 12-base insert that you wanted. Fauci and others point to evidence the virus may have originated in a seafood and wild animal market in Wuhan. But any scientific consensus is complicated by the market being shut down and scrubbed clean by Chinese authorities. With crucial evidence destroyed or hidden from international scrutiny, outside access to the lab is also restricted. Dr. Gary later says a consensus is reached among the experts on that call. Quote, 1, don't try to write a paper at all. It's unnecessary. Or 2, if you do write it, don't mention a lab origin, as that will just add fuel to the conspiracists. On that call, Fauci and his boss, NIH Director Collins, are again told about separate State Department warnings about lax safety protocols inside the Wuhan lab. It's unclear whether those warnings were expressed to White House officials. Nevertheless, despite the conflicting evidence presented by the virologists at that meeting, Collins seems convinced. Quote, I'm coming around to the view that a natural origin is more likely, but I share your view that a swift convening of experts in a confidence-inspiring framework, WHO seems really the only option, is needed, or the voices of conspiracy will quickly dominate. Just 4 days later, 5 American, British, and Australian researchers, who were all on that Fauci conference call, authored preliminary findings that abandoned their earlier private beliefs that COVID was likely the result of a laboratory leak. It's unclear what new evidence prompted such a drastic 180, but private communications show the various drafts of their report are sent to Fauci and Collins for editing and approval. The records do not reveal if they in fact edited the new version. February 16th, the first public draft is published online. Weeks later, a final version of that report is posted. Again, a total reversal of what those virologists wrote in private emails earlier.
We're going to have more on the other side. Sounds to me like there was always concern that this thing leaked from a lab, and Dr. Fauci downplayed it. You tell me why. Now, if you've got back, shoulder, neck, hip, foot, knee pain from exercise or just getting older, consider ordering the 3-week Quick Start. The doctors who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, each of which are 100% drug-free, to deal with pain from a different metabolic pathway. That's right, each of the 4 ingredients deals with inflammation from a separate metabolic pathway. So, $19.95, less than $1 a day to see if we can get you out of pain. Over 70% of those who order it go on to order more. And then after that, we're talking about less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day to stay out of pain. What a deal. Give your body what it needs to heal itself. Just go to relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com, or call 800-500-8384, 800-500-8384.
Yeah, hey, Larry, greetings from Southern California. I was just, there was a petition outside of Trader Joe's here, and it was for making it easier to purchase electric vehicles in the state of California. So I said, oh, the gas tax is going to go up. He said, no, it won't. And I said, really? I said, well, who's going to pay for all this? Get this, really rich people. Can you believe this? Yeah, this is the class warfare our youngsters are taught. The kid looked in his 20s or whatever. So, the socialist panacea is going to exist because really rich people are going to keep paying for all this stuff. I said, eventually they're going to leave. He said, fine, let them leave. I don't really care.
Wow.
Yeah, well, who's going to pay for all the goodies then?
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida criticizing the decision to halt monoclonal antibody treatments.
Early this morning, thousands of Floridians woke up to news that their appointments to get treatment for COVID-19 infection were canceled by the Biden administration, which outright revoked authorization for two very popular monoclonal antibody treatments that the state of Florida really pioneered over the summer and that we've worked hard to make available to our residents who needed treatment. Mind you, the people that seek this treatment are overwhelmingly people that have been vaccinated, but yet they're still infected, and many of them are high risk. Now, they are relying on revoking this and pulling the rug out from under people on a single, non-peer-reviewed, non-clinical study that was actually done by a consultant for a rival company to the other two monoclonal antibody treatments. This is not based on a clinical trial. This is not even peer-reviewed. And so this is something that they claim shouldn't be used because we have Omicron. And what we would say in Florida is we have had people use it, and we've had good results. It's not 100%. We understand that. But you also don't even know when someone goes in whether it's Omicron or still the Delta. Yes, mostly in Florida, it's going to be Omicron at this point. But it's really a reckless decision to be able to take this option away from patients when we've had the site set up, we've had this distributed to different medical groups or hospitals. And if somebody wants to try, it was very effective against the Delta. If you look at once that program went in, you saw a huge decline in hospitalizations. And we were proud to be able to fill really a void which shouldn't have existed if you had people, the higher ups, were actually promoting early treatment, which they weren't.
We weren't able to get to the California city that's requiring gun owners to get liability insurance. We'll get to that next. Tomorrow, 888-971-SAGE. I will see you tomorrow. Make sure you're on time. I will be checking attendance.